Hey, how's it going everyone? In this video, I will show you how to automate one-time password using WebdriverIO. Now, one thing I want to mention before we get started is while we are using WebdriverIO for this tutorial, you can use this code with any other JavaScript framework such as Protector, Cypress, Nightwatch.js, or whichever one you prefer to use. So let's get started. Hey there, welcome to Automation Bro. If this is your first time on the channel, thank you for clicking on this video. I create new content related to testing and automation every week. And if this is something you're interested in, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to get notified of my newly uploaded content. So as I said in the intro, we will be automating OTP using WebdriverIO. Now, if you're not familiar with the OTP or one-time password, it's basically a text message you get on your phone when you create a new account and put your phone number on websites like Amazon, Facebook, Instagram, etc. This is done to add additional safety on your account to make sure it's you that's logging in and not some random user. Alright, so to get a text message on our phone, we need to use some third-party service that will allow us to send and receive messages. And one of the most popular service for that is Twilio. So Twilio provides many services, but we will only be focusing on sending and receiving messaging for this part of tutorial. Okay, so your first task is sign up with Twilio on a free trial account. So go to twilio.com and then click on sign up button. And basically once you click there, you can add in your first name, last name, email, password. No credit card is required here, so you don't have to worry about that. So go ahead and create your account. Okay, so once your account is created, you will see a screen similar to this. Now, one thing to keep in mind is Twilio gives us some trial balance. In this scenario, I have $15.50 and they give you a trial number too. At this point, I don't have a trial number. So what I will do is click on get a trial number. So I'll do this. And it's basically going to ask me for some random trial numbers that I can pick. So I'm going to click on get a trial number. And it's telling me, okay, do I want this number? Well, I will just go with this one. If you want, you can also change the number. It doesn't really matter. This is a test account. So I'm just going to choose this one. Now, once the number is assigned to you, you cannot change it. The only way you can change it is when you upgrade a number, then the only option you have is actually change the number you want to. Okay, so my new phone number is assigned. That's great. I'm going to click done. And if I refresh, well, it already refreshed for me. Awesome. So if you see, I have a trial number assigned here. So make sure you go ahead and create a trial number for yourself. Now, there's a couple things to keep in mind. You will see this account ID here. Now, this is really important because we will be using this when we will be writing our code. Second thing is this auth token. So I'm going to click on show here. And this auth token is basically your secret key. So make sure you don't share this with anyone. At this time, I'm okay to share this because it's a test account. And also I have an option to change this later on. All right, so couple things, like I said, make sure you have your account ID and you know your auth token. Once you have that, you can copy it, save it somewhere. You can always come back here and actually access it. Okay, so we have our Twilio account set up. Now, next thing we need to do is figure out which website we will be using to test out one-time password. Now, I played around with a couple of websites. The one I think was a bit more stable was GitHub. So what I did is created a test account with GitHub. It's basically test-automation bro. If you have your own GitHub account, feel free to use that. And what you're going to do here is basically enable 2FA. So I'm going to go in here, go to settings, and go to account security and have an option to enable 2FA. I will do that. And it's going to ask me for my password. So I'm going to put that in and then I'll be back. So I put in my password and now I'm on the screen. So it's going to ask you for two options. Do you want to set it up using an app, which is the authentication app? But in this scenario, no, I don't want to do that. I instead want to set it up via SMS. So I'm going to click on set up using SMS. It's going to give me a bunch of recovery codes. So what you can do is download this, copy it, save it somewhere so that you can actually access it if they lock you out. Or for example, if you do too many 2FA attempts, sometimes you're going to have to put in this recovery code to come back and access GitHub again. So make sure you download this and save it somewhere. So I'm going to download this for now. So once you download this, just click on the next button. Make sure if you don't download or print or copy it, this button won't really activate. So you have to do one of those actions over there. And then click on next button. So what I'm going to do is come here, copy this number, and just paste it over here. I don't need +1, so I'm going to remove that. And everything else will remain same. It is a US number, so I'll keep that. And what will ask me, okay, do you want to send authentication code? Because obviously we need to verify that this is our number. So I'm going to click on send authentication code. All right, it just sent the message. Now it's time to actually test out if our number is actually working or not. So to test out if you actually got a message, you can click on this ellipses over here and then just go to programmable messaging. I'm going to open that up on a new tab. And here you will see a bunch of options. So it will tell you the amount of money you have. So when it's the first time you use it, it just deducts some money. And if I actually scroll down and see, let's see, we have our dashboard. I'm just going to reload here. I'll click on logs. So it says no messages, and you will see this sometimes that GitHub won't really send you the message. So to do that, just click on send authentication code again so that it actually sends the message. And then you can reload over here again. There you go, we got the message. So this is awesome. So we have our 528079, that's our GitHub authentication code. So this is actually working. We have the from number, which is from basically the GitHub number, and it's actually sending it to our number over here. So that's perfect. What I'm going to do is test it out. So 528079. So let's put that over here, 528079, and enable 2FA. Awesome. So this is working for us. Our 2FA is actually enabled. Now, once I log back in here, it's going to ask me for my 2FA code. And this is basically what we will be testing out with our WebdriverIO code. So let's get started. Okay, so I have logged out from GitHub. And what we will do now is create our WebdriverIO script. So I will come to this page using WebdriverIO and basically fill in the username password field, click on sign in, which will take me to the OTP page where I will actually get my OTP code from Twilio and basically authenticate. So this is going to be our overall script. So I'm going to head over to the code section. Okay, so I'm over here. I've already created a new file called otp.js, and in my WebdriverIO config file, that's what I'm passing in. So when I will run this, obviously it will run this file directly. Now, if you're not familiar with WebdriverIO, you can check out my WebdriverIO tutorial series where I explained how to create your framework, how to get your tests working, and basically just getting your entire framework up and running. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is create a describe block. So I'll do that. I will name this OTP. We'll create a id block. In our id block, we will say verify, or actually this is a login script, right? Login with OTP. We'll do this. Now here we need to get our selectors. So let's do this. I'm gonna head back to Chrome and we will start finding our selector. The first one we need is obviously our username field. So let's see, what do we have here? So this is just a login field. We will copy this, head back. Right, and I'm gonna put that over here. So create a new variable, call this username, and then just put this field over here. It's an ID, so I'm going to enter pound. We will do the same thing for the password, and I'm just going to leave it this way here and head back to Chrome again. So what do we need for a password? It's basically this password. Let's also find out what's for the sign in so that we don't have to keep jumping over and over. So for sign in, it's input type submit. Okay, so I think we'll go with that. It's input type submit. Hopefully that's the only one over here. We can verify. If I do input type equals submit. Yep, that's the only one. So we have our password, we have our sign in. So let's go ahead and get our script created. I'm gonna go back to our code, put in the field for password. So this is password. On sign, and then the sign in button, and this one is, what was that? I think it was input type equals submit. Okay, so this is good. We have everything ready. Now what we're gonna do is start creating a script. So the first thing I want to do is go to the URL. I'll do browser.url. And I think it's https github.com/login. And then I will do username dot, what are we doing? We are setting value. So here I need to put in the email. So my email is test.automationbro@gmail.com. I'm gonna put in my password. Password dot set value, and I'm gonna put in my password, which I will just copy paste. So let me find that out. I will paste it here. All right. So for now, this is fine. I have my password, I have my username, and then I will click on the sign in button. So I'll do sign in button dot click. Okay, so this is good. Let's see if this is actually working. This will basically take us to the OTP screen. So let's find out if this works. I'm going to remove this comment here. To run this, I'm simply going to do npx WDIO and hit enter. Okay, so it's opening up Chrome. It should go to the GitHub URL. Let's see. Okay, it's going there. It put in our ID password and it logged out. Awesome. So that was working. So we actually created that. And what this should have done is actually triggered a new auth code. So let's verify if that actually happened. So I'm going to go back to the SMS logs and just reload. It should give us the second message over here. All right, there you go. We have our second message here, which we just got. So that's perfect. So what we will do now is go to GitHub and try to access our OTP screen so that we can get the selector for that particular OTP field. So let's do that. I'm going to go to GitHub, click on sign in. And basically what we need to do is put in the 6-digit code over here. And we need to know what this field is. So let's find out. So this is ID OTP. All right, so that's good. What about the verify button? I think that's just button type submit. Let's see if that works. So I'm going to do button type submit. What's going on? All right, so I forgot to put the square bracket here. So there's 3 nodes for this. We need to find an individual node. So I can do that by just using this form action. So I will do form action equals, and then paste this thing, hit enter. Let's see if this works. Nope, this is not working. So I gotta think we must be missing something here. Yeah, I forgot to add in the bracket here. All right, so this is good. So this is our selector. I'm gonna copy this, and then we're gonna paste it in our code. So I will go back over here. We're gonna add in our selectors. So I will do const verify button. Here I will just paste in this whole thing, and then I will do const OTP field. Here it was just an ID with OTP, so that's good. Okay, so we have all of our selectors. What we're gonna do now is I'm gonna just comment this out. So this will be our logic to actually get OTP data. So I will just say get OTP, and we will do something over here. So for now, I won't worry about this. But once we get the OTP, what we will do is set the field over here. So that means I will do OTP field dot set value, and then the OTP that we actually get. So I'm going to create a variable here called const OTP, and then for now leave it empty. We will get this over here, and then we will try to click the verify button. So I'm going to do verify button dot click, and that's good. And once we click on this, we will reach the github.com page. So let's put in our assertion here. So I'm going to do expect browser dot to have URL, and I think that was from, if I remember, was github.com. Right, so because before it was sign in, well, basically log in. Once you log in, it takes away this login from here and just gives you this particular part. So I think that should be good enough for our session, because that's not really the main thing over here. We need to find out how to get OTP. Now for that, actually before we all do all of that, I'm gonna try to run this test again to see if it will actually fill in the empty data, or we can fill this in with a random number here. Let's see. And then we will click on the verify button to see if this works. I'm gonna hit enter. It's on GitHub page. Yep. All right. So it says 2FA failed, which is expected, but at least our selectors are working. So that's good. Our test script is all working. The only thing we need to do is figure out how to get OTP. And this is the part you guys have been waiting for. So to do that, I'm going to go back to the Twilio page. And what we will do is read their documentation. So I'm going to click on Docs, and we will click on API Docs. And here we will click on their Twilio messaging API. All right, so it will tell you can send SMS with Twilio, and they also give you some sample code. We don't need to send an SMS, we instead need to receive it. So if we go to tutorials here, you will see that it will tell you how to retrieve and modify message history. So that's what we need. We need to get the message history and basically the latest message. And for our language, we'll pick Node.js. All right, so we will have an option to see list all messages. So I think this is what we want. We want a list of all these messages over here, and we want to pick the first one that comes up. So to do that, let's see what we have to do. It's saying you need to pass in the account ID, pass in the auth token, and basically there's code to actually require Twilio. So we need to install this package, which is Twilio, and then put in this code over here. In the limit section, we just need to pass in one because we need the latest one. That's all we care about. So let's actually try this out. And then we have done messages. So what I'm going to do is copy this whole thing and then paste it in our code. So I'm going to go in here on the very top. I'm going to paste this here. So this is good. And I will just replace this with my ID and token. So to do that, what I will do is go to Twilio. Oops, wrong screen. Go here and then copy my account as ID. And I will paste that in the actual code. So let's go here. Paste this. Oh, it actually was picking up my ID. So that's good. And I will just replace this with my token. I can copy this. And then just replace this with the auth token over here. All right, so this is good. So now we have our ID, we have our token. What we need is to install this Twilio package. So we can do that by doing npm install Twilio. Hit enter. All right, so Twilio is installed. All right, so this looks good. Here's what we're gonna do. I will actually take this code and right when we do the click, basically get our OTP, replace this over here. This thing. Now, here's the tricky part. We cannot just directly hit this because what's going to happen is with WebdriverIO, it's going to only run this particular code. It won't even run this and it will just skip to this particular part over here. Or basically it might run, but it won't really wait for the whole thing to come back because it's an asynchronous call. So it might just take a look at this code. It will like, okay, something is happening here. It will make this call, but it won't wait for this console log to come back because this is asynchronous, right? So to handle that, what we can do is in WebdriverIO, we can use something called browser.call. So that's what we're going to take advantage of, where we can actually use asynchronous call, wait for that promise to be resolved, and then take the next step. All right, I know it sounds really confusing, but I'll show it to you what it means. So I already have this variable created. So I'm going to copy this, paste it here, and then just change this with browser.call. Create a function here, add a function. And over here, cut this, basically paste this whole thing here. Now what we will do is create a new promise. I will do return new promise. And here, obviously promise, you can resolve or reject something. So I will take that. And then create our error brackets here. And do a try catch here. This is standard when you're creating promise. If it fails, I will just want it to reject it. And throw in this particular error. If it passes, I want it to do this particular thing over here. All right. Now, instead of doing all 20, I just need the first one. Then it will do messages for each. It will loop through that. In this scenario, it doesn't really make sense for it to loop. But if let's say if you need in some scenario multiple messages, I will leave this code as it is. And I will actually print this out. Instead of printing m.sid, I want to print the actual body because we will see what body we will get out of this. Okay, so we have all of this code created. We are doing a lot here, I know, but basically all we are doing is we copied that code. We are taking advantage of browser.call and we are creating a promise and then we are resolving that promise. And actually I am not resolving promise here. resolve a promise, what I can do is, let's see, I'm gonna open this up, paste this here, and resolve it by just passing it m.body. Right, we will just resolve it this way. Now, obviously, none of this would work, I know, but that's okay. We won't worry about that. I will run this to see if we actually get this body back, because that's the main thing, right? We want to see that code that's being returned to us. So let's run this and see if we actually get that back. Oops, not this code. I'm gonna delete this. Actually, you know what? Close this. Open it again. And run this. npx WebdriverIO. So this will run all of this again. It will try to get this data and it will print out, hopefully, our token code. Let's see if this works. Oh, there you go. It actually pasted that token code here, but it's the whole string. So that's fine. We can filter that out, but at least we're getting that token code back. So that's awesome. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to go up here to see if we actually get this over here too in console log. So let's see. Here we are submitting that. Nope, we don't want this here. Oh, look at this. 9000656 is our GitHub authentication code. Let's actually verify this if this is picking up the latest one. I'm going to go back here, go to our SMS logs. If I just reload, and if I scroll over here, awesome. There you go, 9000656. So our code is working. This is great. Now all we need to do is, instead of getting this entire thing, which is the code is your GitHub authentication code, blah, blah. All we need is just the number and then return that out to our OTP field. So let's do that. So I'm gonna close this out. So we need a way to filter the body out and just get the number out of it from that particular string. And for that, we will be using regex. So we can do that by just doing .match. And here I can pass in my regex string. So this will be basically just get the number out of it. That's all I want. It will get the number, and if you notice, there's actually two numbers there. If I scroll, let me see if I can find out. Right, over here. So if you notice, we have this particular string, and then we also have this. So it's actually returning number twice. We just want the first number, and that's all we care about. So to do that, this will return me an array. So I don't want to deal with the entire array. All I want is that particular string, right? So I will just do, get me this whole thing, and out of that, get me the first number there. Let's run this to see if it actually works. And I'm gonna run this again. So technically this should return us just that particular number. All right, so I know it's not showing up over here, but we will actually see if it actually shows up on our console log. Okay, there you go. So we actually are getting the number back. So this is when we do a click, and after the click, we got the number back. So this is working. We are actually getting the number being returned. So what I'm going to do is copy this whole thing and just resolve this over here. So what this will do is, and comment this out, what this will do is actually give us the OTP. The value would be the actual number. And then we can pass in that OTP value over here and then click. And basically, hopefully that should work and take us to the github.com. And let's see if that works. Okay, so it's putting in detail. Awesome. Did you see that? It actually ran, it put in the code and it worked. So it went in, put in the fields, put in the OTP number, and then it actually verified that we came to the github.com page. So our test is working. There you go. It just took 5.2 seconds and we ran the entire test. We can actually run this again to verify it, but you know what? I think one time, hopefully you guys understand how this is working. So what I'm going to do is just do a quick review of what we actually did. First of all, this was just bunch of setup. We created our selectors. From there, we ran our basic script where we are logging in, putting in the details, clicking on sign in button. Now this is the meaty part. Here we are using browser.call to work with asynchronous calls. We are creating a promise and we are resolving that promise with the string that we are getting back. So we are using this code, which was Twilio that provided us. All we are doing is getting the list of messages. We're getting the first one back. And from there, we are actually resolving this. We are using regex to get that number out. So using this, which is just a digit. So we are getting this out. We are taking the first number instead of getting both the numbers out. And if we also added a try catch, if something fails, it will throw an error over here. And after we get our OTP back, we are setting that value here and then clicking on the verify button and then doing our verification or our assertion over here. Okay, so I know this seemed complicated, but to be honest, the main thing over here, what we did is just getting this particular code to work. And we are using Twilio service that's doing majority of the work for us. All we are doing is making that HTTP call to get the latest message and then passing that OTP number back to our WebdriverIO over here. So this code will be available on GitHub for you guys to access. So I would urge you guys to try this out on your own. Get your Twilio account set up, create your GitHub account if you don't already have one, set up 2FA if you already have a GitHub account, and then basically run the script to see if this actually works for us. Now I know OTP is something that's always pretty complicated, but if you notice here, we really did this pretty quickly. And what you can do is if you want to implement this at your workplace or something, you can create a function out of this and then just run that particular function instead of just creating everything in this one particular script. Now there's many ways to optimize this, but for now, this is good enough just to get us an idea of how this works. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel, as that's how I know you guys are really enjoying the content. And also if you would like to support my work, you can do that by buying me a cup of coffee. Alright, take care guys, I will see you in the next one.